Members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the public tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, those following via social media, members of the media, good afternoon. And welcome to this urgent public meeting number 2 for today, Thursday, September the 12th, 2024. I want to give a special welcome to the Honorable Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication, Mrs. Grisha Heiliger-Martin, and her support staff. At this time, we have established a quorum of 10 members. Please join me in standing for a moment of silence. Thank you. I have received notice of absence from the members De Weaver and La Cruz. Does any member of Parliament require a notification at this time from the floor? I see MP Jacobs is requesting such. MP Jacobs, you have the floor.
Yes, good afternoon to you, Madam Chair, my colleagues here in Parliament, the Griffier, the Honourable Minister and her staff, as well as those representing the harbour here present. Madam Chair, I just wanted to ask for housekeeping purposes whether it is still the opportunity to have the continuation of the GEBE meeting that was said would be reconvened in 2 weeks, as well as, I believe, one on justice and education. If that is still the intention before this Parliament leaves, that these meetings will be called so that the necessary preparations can be made for such. And yeah, that's it for now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Request noted.
Oh, sorry, yes. And there was also a letter that I had written to the Honourable Prime Minister, whether a response had been received, and if such, where would I be able to find that? Thank you.
Thank you, MP Jacobs. I'll respond to your request actually shortly, but I ask if there are any other notifications before I continue. MP Jacobs, your request/question has been noted, and I will discuss with the Secretary General in terms of the scheduling of meetings and see if the two specific ones that you refer to, whether those can still be incorporated in the schedule. And I will let you know as soon as possible. I will now continue with the agenda point for this urgent public meeting. It was requested to be urgent. And the agenda is deliberations with the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport and Telecommunication regarding important developments at the airport and the harbour. This document, this request by members of Parliament, is registered on the IS 908 of the parliamentary year 23-24, and it was dated July 8, 2024. As this is a public meeting, allow me to remind you of the introduction to the usage of interruptions during public meetings. And the following guidelines apply in accordance with Article 43 of the Rules of Order. The chairperson may permit interruptions, and these interruptions should aim to 1. Seek clarification, 2. Challenge assertions, or 3. Contribute additional information. The interruptions should also consist of brief remarks or questions without any introduction. The chairperson is called to ensure order and decorum during the meetings and the use of interruptions. But I expect that the members will act in a way that the interruptions can be questions, assertions, etc., can be posed without allowing or making it necessary for especially ministers in their presentations to be taken from their train of thought, so that we can have an orderly progress and process of the meeting, members given the opportunity to ask interruptions, as well as ministers being able to make their presentation or provide their answers. But I don't think that I would have to use the order to ensure order, and that members and ministers, of course, will cooperate in making sure that we can get the best out of the meetings and the presentations and questions. As is known, members will be allowed 3 minutes, or 3 interruptions rather, per agenda point, and they are to be posed from the lectern in the hall here. Going over to the agenda point, on July 8th, as mentioned, Parliament received a letter from members of Parliament Jacobs, Doran, Marlin, and Irion with a request for an urgent public meeting of Parliament to address important developments at the airport and harbour. The presence of the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication was also requested, and as I mentioned, the document is registered on the IS 908. All members, of course, are in possession of this letter. Before giving the floor to the Minister of TIAT, Mrs. Grisha Heiliger-Martin, for her introductory remarks and our presentation, I ask if any of the requestors feel the need to briefly introduce or explain the request for this meeting before I turn the floor over to the Minister. If not, then we would go over straight to MP Doran. You wish to respond to my question?
Yes, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to my honorable colleagues, the honorable minister, support staff, representatives of the port, and a special good afternoon to the people of St. Martin. Madam Chair, just for understanding purposes, the reason we requested this meeting is because we see what has happened with some of our government-owned companies when it comes to the finances, and we feel that it is important for us to deal with the others so that we can know and the people can understand their current state of affairs and address other pressing matters. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, MP Doran, and that is clear, and thank you for that brief explanation as to the request for the meeting. And with that having been said, I now invite the Minister of TIAT, Mrs. Grisha Heiliger-Martin, to take the floor for her remarks and presentation. Minister of TIAT, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to the Secretary General. Good afternoon to the honorable members of Parliament. And good afternoon to everyone listening and viewing via all mediums. Today I'm pleased to present on 2 of the most crucial assets for St. Martin, our primary gateways, the Princess Juliana International Airport and the Port of St. Martin, the Port of St. Martin group of companies. These essential hubs are key drivers of our economy and infrastructure, connecting St. Martin to both regional and international markets. I'll begin by providing an update on PJIA, followed by an update on the port, and I kindly ask the honorable members of Parliament to please direct your questions to the relevant ports for ease of answering questions in advance, if possible. To separate your questions under each company. I'd like to begin with the Princess Juliana International Airport. Here we'll have the table of content, the introduction, the aviation performance of 2023-2024, the financial update, and developments and project in a brief nutshell. So the Princess Juliana International Airport is an award-winning international hub that serves approximately 1.5 million passengers annually, primarily from North America, the Caribbean, Latin America, and Europe. As the backbone of St. Martin's economy, PJIAE is responsible for around 60,000 of its island's GDP, driving both economic growth and development. This summary outlines PJIAE's key operational, strategic, and performance for 2023, along with insights for 2024 key areas of focus. And the focus will be including on digitalization, recovery efforts, connectivity, and seasonal traffic management. PJIAE is moving forward with its digital transformation efforts, launching a new digital entry form called Entry.sx on October 8, 2024. This initiative will streamline the entry process for travels around arriving in St. Martin, allowing them to complete the form up to 7 days before the trip. By simplifying procedures and reducing wait times upon arrival, this innovation aims to improve efficiency at the airport. Also on the digitization initiative, with the reopening of the Princess Juliana International Airport in October 2024, it is set to become the most technologically advanced airport in the Caribbean, incorporating the latest biometrics and facial recognition technology in partnership with the industry leaders like SITA, S-I-T-A, and VisionBox. Committed to maintaining its leadership position in the years ahead, PGIAE is in the final stages of developing its new 20-year master plan 2024 to 2043, and this plan will focus on a sustainable expansion. Once completed, PGIAE will present this to the Council of Ministers. Under the organization, I would like to first and foremost take this opportunity to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the entire organization, consisting of approximately 300 dedicated employees whose perseverance and commitments since the hurricane has been truly remarkable. I would like to acknowledge the invaluable contribution of both current and former employees who played crucial roles in recovery from the storms and during the challenges posed by COVID-19. Special thanks go to the security officers for ensuring the security of the airport operations, the operations department for maintaining the efficiency of daily operations, the fire department employees for their constant readiness and support, the quality assurance team for upholding the high standards of service, their air traffic controllers for expertly managing our airspaces and ensuring operational safety, the technical staff for maintaining and upgrading our infrastructure, and the construction workers for their ongoing efforts to improve and develop our facilities. Also, for sure, the financial team for their careful management of financial resources and strategic planning, and administration and statistics team for their support and analytic contributions to our operations. Your collective efforts have been key in overcoming these challenges, and your dedication is deeply appreciated. Thank you for the resilience and unwavering support during these last 7 years, especially during the reconstruction of the airport. The Princess Juliana International Airport Holding Company is currently in the process of selecting a new Chief Executive Officer, CEO, for the PGIAE NV. Nearly 30 applicants has been received for the position, which will become vacant in December 2024. The application deadline was August 31st, 2024, and BDO is busy reviewing the application and will recommend a shortlist to the Supervisory Board of PGIAE, and the goal is to appoint a suitable candidate by the end of October 2024, with the new CEO starting in December 2024 in its current, as the current term of the CEO concludes. Under the Business Recovery 2017-2020, PGIAE faced two major crises: Hurricane Irma and COVID-19 pandemic, setting the mark growth back by 6 years. And however, thanks to the PGIA resilience and the strategic recovery efforts, passengers traffic is expected to return to pre-crisis levels by 2024, uncovering the airport's capacity to bounce back and maintain long-term growth. PGIAE continues to see strong growth in passenger traffic. Summer 2023, we saw 349,000 passengers, and what's projected for summer 2024 is 400,000 passengers, marking an impressive 18% increase. Load factor and operational efficiency. The anticipated load factor for the upcoming period is expected to range between 80 to 90% on average. That's completely with all the airlines, reflecting a high demand and effective capacity utilization. As we continue with the aviation performance, Princess Juliana International Airport serves over 40 destinations with more than 20 or about 20 airlines. In the first 7 months of 2024, PGIAE processes as many passengers as it did in the first 9 months of 2023, reflecting its strong growth trajectory and operational efficiency. PGIAE destinations are distributed as follows. North American market, 57.8%, so 58%. The Caribbean market, about 28%. The European market, about 12%. And the Latin South American market, about 2%. As analysis of the past two major crises revealed that market growth was delayed by 6 years, with a sharp decline in passenger numbers during 2017 and 2020 due to the external disruptions from the hurricane and COVID-19. However, data shows a steady rebound in passenger traffic, with a full recovery in pre-crisis level expected by 2025. Beyond this, continued growth is anticipated, positioning the airport for a stable and progressive future. This analysis highlights the resilience of PGIAE's operations and underscores its ability to adapt and strategically plan for long-term success. Next, we have the seasonal traffic management. PGIAE operates on two distinct schedules. Summer schedule of summer 24, April to October 2024, and then the winter schedule is November 2024 to March 2025. The winter schedule accounts for 60% of the airport's total annual traffic, marking its peak season for passenger volume. This structured approach enables PGIAE to effectively plan for increased capacity and allocate resources during high-demand travel periods. PGIAE continues to serve both legacy and low-cost carriers. Major airlines like American Airlines maintain a strong presence in offering extensive connection to key destinations. Low-cost carriers such as JetBlue and Spirit Airlines provide an affordable option for a broader range of travel. And regional hub airlines like Win Air continue to offer essential connections across the Caribbean. This balance allows the airport to cater to diverse passenger needs, promoting both accessibility and premium service standards. And now we go over to the financial update. In recent years, the company's financial performance has experienced fluctuations. Revenue steadily increased from 44.7 million guilders in 2020 to 107 million guilders in 2023. Expenses also rose during this period from 76 million guilders in 2021 to approximately 87 million in 2023. Interest expenses showed a decline, dropping from 10.7 million guilders in 2022 to 8.9 million guilders in 2023. Profit and loss figures were mixed, with a profit of 33 million guilders in 2022, followed by a loss of 9.9 million in 2021 and 18.6 million in 2022. However, PGIAE provided for a profit of 7.8 million in 2023. And in general, PGIAE has maintained positive EBITDA figures throughout the years and indicating consistent operational profitability. Under developments and projects, we're going to focus on a few projects that's going to be coming up next. The FBO, the fixed base operator, is a crucial element of the airport operation, offering a range of services to provide and charter aircraft. By providing essential amenities such as refueling, maintenance, hangar space, and concierge service, the FBO enhances the overall passenger experience and supports smooth operation of general aviation. It is vital for maintaining efficient airport operations and generating revenues through diverse offering. And that's going to be one of the projects that they're looking at doing very soon. The fuel farm is also an integral part to the airport operation, ensuring a reliable and efficient supply of aviation fuel. It supports the refueling needs of both the commercial and the private aircraft, contributing to the overall efficiency and safety of flight operations. A well-maintained fuel farm is essential for minimizing delays and ensuring that aircrafts are ready for timely departure. Its role is maintaining fuel storage and distribution, and quality control is critical for the smooth functioning of the airport. The next project in line is the catering building. The catering building is essential for delivering high-quality food and beverage service at the airport. It caters to both the in-flight needs of the airlines and the VIP business class lounge requirements and passengers. By maintaining a high standard of safety, quality, and variety, the catering building enhances the passenger experience and supports the overall efficiency of the airport operations. Another key project that's underway is the runway bypass. The runway bypass is also a crucial infrastructure component that enhances the efficiency of the airport's operation by providing an alternative route for aircraft to navigate around the main runway. This bypass facilitates smooth traffic flow, reduces congestions on the primary runway, and minimizes delay by enabling more flexible and efficient use of runway resources. The runway bypass supports timely departures and arrivals and contributing to overall efficiency and capacity of the airport. When it comes to sustainability, the airport is developing a program to advance its sustainability goals. In 2025, PGIAE plans to install a 1 megawatt solar canopy that will both provide shade for visitors and generate solar energy. This initiative is projected to cut the annual utility budget by 500,000 guilders. The project is currently, I'm not sure if it's guilders or dollars, but it might be guilders or dollars, and we need to confirm that. It's guilders? Yes, it's guilders. The project is currently in the planning phase. And then, Regina, U.S. preclearance. We will reopen the discussions on the implementation of U.S. preclearance at the St. Martin Airport. It is an economic interest for government worldwide to facilitate the fluid trade of goods and services and a freer movement of people by reducing the costs associated with international borders. This is especially true for St. Martin, with its small, open economy heavily dependent on tourists. The U.S. preclearance facility offers a significant advantage for international travelers by allowing them to complete U.S. customs and immigration procedures before arriving in the United States. This preclearance process speeds up for the arrival experience, reduces processing time at the U.S. airport, and enhances overall passenger convenience. For airline and airport, it streamlines operation and improves service qualities by minimizing delays and optimizing the efficiency of the transatlantic flights. And last, I would like to conclude this presentation on the airport on a positive note by reaffirming that the reopening of the airport hall remains on schedule and set for October 8, 2024. Next, we would like to go over to the Port of St. Martin. The Port of St. Martin is poised to achieve significant milestones in its cruise and cargo operations this year. The port is on track to welcome 1.35 million cruise passengers in 2024, marking a notable increase of 60,000 passengers compared to last year and exceeding initial projections by 2%. Looking ahead, the port anticipates even greater success in 2025, with an over 1.5 million passenger expected. These are the introduction, same concept as the airport. The introduction, the port performance, the financials, developments, but we also have from the port their trend and challenges. The port cargo side and I think I mentioned this already, the 1.3 and the 1.5. So here we go with the port performance. So the port cargo side's transshipment activity has shown a solid 11% increase over 2023, reflecting steady growth in the maritime logistics operations. The port home porting sector has expanded with the addition of 2 vessels this season, the S.J. Vega and the Le Ponant. I'm trying to say the French way. In addition, Virgin Voyages is set to begin regular transit calls in this cruise season. I think it's December, correct? And they are actively engaging with Virgin Atlantic, the airline, to explore future home porting operations in St. Martin. This season also brings a wave of new opportunities with 15 inaugural cruise calls, including Virgin Voyages, and the port also projects 14 more inaugural calls in 2025. Lastly, the bridge passage data from Slack recorded a 21% decrease, and I will explain, I think, attributed to what maybe after. And then we go on to the financials of the port. As highlighted in this financial overview, the port faced significant challenges during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 and 2021, following the severe impact of Hurricane Irma. While operations have fully resumed with profitable results in 2022 and 2023, and projections for 2025 indicating a return to pre-pandemic levels, the port remains potentially undercapitalized due to these past disruptions. Together, in close collaboration with their shareholders, the government, they are actively exploring ways to strengthen the port's equity base. This will ensure that the port is well-positioned to move forward with their planned investment program and secure the port's long-term growth and stability. The port has outlined several key current and upcoming development organized in 4 strategic areas: port facility, experiences, connectivity, and sustainability. When it comes to the port facility, the cruise entrance upgrade, this is to enhance, they're going to be doing an enhancement at the cruise entrance. And this enhancement will allow and will improve the overall experience and ambience for passengers as they approach their award-winning cruise facility. The crane inventory depot, a rendering has been provided for this new facility, which is designed to reduce crane downtime and improve operational efficiency. It will serve as a dedicated maintenance and work area for the cranes and speeder bars. The state-of-the-art security command center. Leveraging advanced camera system and AI technology, this new center will significantly upgrade the port's surveillance and monitoring capabilities across all facilities. Another one is the pier infrastructure upgrade. Essentially, work will be carried out on Cruise Pier South, which has been in operation since 2000, 24 years now. These upgrades will extend the pier's lifespan incorporating modern construction techniques to improve the durability against storm-related wave action. The cargo reefer plug expansion. The port is increasing its capacity to handle more refrigerated containers, further strengthening its transshipment hub for neighboring islands. And then we have also the cargo area resurfacing, and which has been ongoing. Resurfacing of the damaged area in the cargo sector is being executed in phases and will continue over the next 18 months. Under sustainability, the cruise and maritime industry have set ambitious goals for zero emissions with targets for 2030 and the aim of reaching net zero by 2050. As a key partner in the sector, Port St. Martin is fully committed to becoming a greener port and is actively pursuing initiatives to reduce emissions. Currently, sustainability efforts include port-wide electrifications, which is exploring the use of solar energy to power the entire port, including auxiliary facilities, electric vehicles, introducing electric vehicles for port operations for further minimize of carbon emissions, waste to energy, investigating innovative solutions to convert waste into usable energy, shore power. Through a long-term objective, early discussions are underway to provide a shore power to cruise ships reducing their resilience on fuel while docked. When it comes to the experience on the port is not only focused on an internal development, but it is also dedicated to enhancing the overall destination experience in key areas surrounding the facilities. The beautification projects is one, where it's improving notable landmarks such as the Battery Point Monument in Point Blanche and the Causeway Unity Roundabout. The port is also going to embark on a water park by RCA, the Royal Group. This new attraction is set to launch in the coming years, adding a unique experience for visitors. When it comes to the Walter Plants Square, celebrating its 10-year anniversary, the square will receive fountain upgrades and maintenance work to enhance the appeal. Then its 60th anniversary celebration. To mark this milestone, the port will host the FCCA Cruise Conference and the Caribbean Shipping Association AGM. And these events offer a platform to showcase the destination to key stakeholders while providing local businesses and the chance to present their services to an international audience. And of course, the long-awaited marketplace development. Following the groundbreaking of the new marketplace, Port St. Martin facilitated early discussions with a cruise partner to bring this project to life. When it comes to the connectivity, as a leading cruise destination, ensuring guest connectivity is a top priority for Port St. Martin. Construction is underway on the waterside walkway, a project in development for the past 10 years, which will enhance tourist safety by keeping them away from the roadside. The walkway is set for completion this year. One of the port's key strengths is to direct access to the heart of the capital, a future we aim to further develop and capitalize on to enhance the visitor experience. And last, the industry trends. The current data trends indicate a steady increase in the number of cruise ships in service, with approximately 40 new ships expected by 2030. As the Caribbean remains the top cruise destination, it is crucial for our port and destination to continue investing in improvements and enhancing our marketing efforts. Tourism studies reveal a growing demand for more unique and exclusive destinations as travelers increasingly seek personalized, nature-focused, and relaxation-based experiences. Health-conscious tourism is also on the rise, further driving the need to diversify our offering here in St. Martin. So from a port perspective, beyond the emphasis on sustainability and goals and regulations, the port is seeing a practical application of AI, particularly in security, and these innovations are being explored for integrations into the state-of-the-art Security Command Center. With that, Madam Chair Lady, I have come to the end of my presentation, and I await the questions from the members of Parliament.
Thank you, Minister of TIAT, Minister Grisha Heiliger-Martin, for your presentation on both the airport and the harbor. Members of Parliament, of course, the opportunity is there now for you to ask questions or make comments on the topic at hand. In order to do so, I kindly request that you sign the speakers list, and we do have a member of Parliament ready to take the floor, and that is MP Melissa Gumbs. MP Melissa Gumbs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady, and good afternoon to you, Rifir, my colleagues, and to the Minister, her support staff, those joining us in the Tribune, and those joining us online, as well as to the representatives of the harbor, the port. Madam Chair Lady, when it comes to our ports of entry, much of my attention over last term was on structural improvements to processes, procedures, and infrastructural improvements, many of which have lagged behind at nearly all government-related entities, not just PGIA and the port. With regards to PGIA, in keeping with your request to specify what we're addressing and which questions are for whom, it's no secret that this faction has never actually supported the pursuit of USP clearance. The minister is aware of that from our time in Parliament together, and in my professional opinion, the U.S. State Department had the final word on that topic some time ago. Additionally, if we're concerned about needed improvements at PGIA, I expected to see some items in the presentation coming from the airport that focused on critical structural updates needed to improve our airport category rating. The fuel farm is one of those as an infrastructural update that has been desperately needed since before 10-10-10, actually. So I'm happy to see that was included in the information that you received from PGIA. But in place of USP clearance, which, as I mentioned, the State Department basically parked up, I would have expected to see possibly, in my opinion, the most important aspect of the airport that needs structural improvement on the list, that being the matter of the air traffic controllers and air traffic control on a whole. When it comes to improving our airport category rating, could the minister, through you, Madam Chair Lady, perhaps share if PGIA discussed with her and the ministry and government as a whole any ways to improve not just the influx of air traffic controllers, because I know that we have quite a few who are approaching the age, the legal limit at which they can continue to operate. If there's been a discussion on any legislative changes that need to be made to assist with that, or access to any funding that could assist with sending more persons to train to become air traffic controllers, because that actually has an impact on the airport's category rating to improve it and to allow us to access different markets and different routes. And if I turn now to the Harbor Group of Companies, to the port, to my understanding, the Simpson Bay Lagoon Authority, SLAC, I believe, operates under the Harbor Group of Companies. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but assuming that I'm not wrong, I just wanted to ask if has been any discussion with the Harbor Group to institute a policy or some sort of a process or procedure to stop what happened after Hurricane Irma from happening again. That is, that boats flock to the Simpson Bay Lagoon, they park up in there when a storm is coming, the storm destroys their vessel, and then they just kind of write it off in their home country or wherever the vessel is registered, and we do not get any money, and then we have to take money meant to reconstruct the country to dig up these boats from the lagoon, also having to deal with the fallout of the environmental damage to the lagoon. So if there's been any discussion on a policy to implement a sort of insurance fee that has to be paid and then can be used in the event of a disaster, such as Hurricanes Irma, Maria, or whatever may come. And those were my two main areas. I'm happy to see that there is some discussion now with structural improvements at the airport, in particular the fuel farm, because I know that also impacts our category rating. And also at the harbor, I'm well aware of what all has been in the planning, as Mr. Gomes communicates quite well with the public. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Melissa Gomes. According to the speakers list, I now invite MP Otley to take the floor. MP Otley, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good day to the Honorable Minister, her colleagues, those sitting in the tribune, the viewing and listening public. I saw the presentation. While the presentation is a bit informative, it's just general. It's general based on information that the harbor or the airport give, nothing of details of definite dates or major substance, in my opinion. It created an outline, but I would have liked a bit more detail. However, I have a few questions to ask. One, I noticed that the CEO of the airport is not here, through you, Madam Chair, while I see the CEO of the port. Is this by choice of the CEO, choice of the minister? I would also like to know, how is the relationship between the minister and the CEO of the airport, through you, Madam Chair, or the management board of the airport and the ministry or the Council of Ministers? The minister also made an announcement in the press that, through you, Madam Chair, that it is not the intention to renew the contract of the current CEO of the airport, but corporate governance does not allow the choice to be solely of that of the minister. So I would like to know, did the current CEO reapply for the position to renew his contract? What will happen, considering your announcement, if the current CEO scores the highest in this assessment, if he did reapply? Are you, through you, Madam Chair, Minister of TEAT or the CAM, prepared for the Netherlands to, I would say, wrongfully intervene, but what would happen if they say that based on the assessment, we would like the renewal of the current CEO, or else no financing, no loans, no et cetera, no et cetera. This is customary for the Netherlands to intervene and put St. Martin in a hard position, as you see with the Enya saga. Also, I would like to ask, what are the senior positions of the PGIA operating and holding boards still needed to be filled? How much time remains on the contract of the CFO and the COO and board members of the PGIA operating and holding companies? Are there a succession plan or a plan in place, especially given the potential needs of continuity? Another question, how much land does the PGIA operating company currently own? How much land does the holding company currently own? What is the annual payment made by PGIA operating company to the holding company? What is the money paid, for example, use of land, lease agreements, etc.? What is the total number of staff working for the PGIA holding company? What are the job titles? And how is PGIAH office financially sustained? How is PGIA addressing the significant drop in the regional travel? This is important as well. During my tenure as Minister of TEAT, and while sitting there, and the minister was a member of parliament, the minister stressed on regional travel, which is very important. So I would like to hear that. I was looking forward to hear that in the plan. How do we plan to increase regional travel? How much revenue does PGIA generate from its hub function in 2016? And let's compare it to January 2023 to present. PGIA has installed electronic or plans to install, one of the two. You can answer the question, was this installed, or is it still the plan to install electronic passport scanners? How are these devices being maintained, or how will they be maintained? And which company will be responsible for their upkeep? What is this company, local or international? Also, will this result in loss of human personnel? What measures are in place to ensure financial transparency and good governance at PGIA, particularly concerning the acquisition of properties and executive spending? How does the operating company plan to fund the outgoing development projects such as the bypass, such as the fuel farm, and the FBO? Also, we were given, these are plans. I would like strategic way forward, more details, dates on groundbreaking, dates on, or possible dates of completions of these projects, which are very, very much needed for the airport. Also, as it pertains to pre-clearance, although myself and my faction are proponents of pre-clearance, I would like to make it clear or sure, I look forward to this answer, who is really responsible for the final answer? Is it indeed the Netherlands, since we do not control our borders 100%? And also, like my colleague just mentioned, it has been placed on a, I would say, a temporary hold at this moment. I move to the port. I remember signing the long-awaited Port Strategic Master Plan through you, Madam Chair. What is the update on this? I did not hear that. Also in this plan, is it still the plan to extend the boardwalk? Is it still the plan for extra berths? If yes, can we be provided with a timeline of such? or a strategic way forward on how we plan to gather finances for the above mentioned. Also, you mentioned, through you, Madam Chair, Honorable Minister Tiat, you mentioned the water park. I did not see any mention of the boutique hotel that was also in the plan. You also mentioned coming in the coming years. I would also like a date for this, as I know when we were in the Council of Ministers, a plan or a possible date was given. So if this date is no longer feasible, I would like to know why, and what is the next possible date. I think the people of St. Martin do need to know this, considering if you look around us, I'm seeing all over Instagram and the internet pictures of Anguilla doing very well, and with St. Martin's water park will be even bigger and more magnificent. I must say this. What is the update with the land of such? Does the port own the land where the water park and boutique hotel is supposed to go? When is the term for the current CEO up? Also, while I commend you for ensuring the continuation and the groundbreaking of the marketplace, the much-needed marketplace, I must say, for the past few days as I park, I have been receiving, though, again, many complaints on lack of business activity due to the location where they are temporarily placed. So if we can look into that, I know it's not a 1, 2, 3 thing, but if we can look into that and the possibility of moving, that would ease some of those complaints. Also, we are hosting the FCCA conference. I am very happy. This is something that will bring a lot of revenue and stay over to St. Martin, but also I need to know that we are financially ready. Are we financially ready? That's a question. What is the total cost for such? Also, I would like a clear answer. This is the perfect time. What is true port fees? What is true port fees? How was this created? When was this created? Why was this created? Also, Minister of Tiat, as being responsible for economic and the growth, what effects does the true port fees have on our gas and our everyday basic living items, such as groceries and whatever we may purchase? Because true port fees would be a fee for any container that comes through the harbor's water. Stand to be corrected. I remember as well sitting there as Minister of Tiat, and some of the questions was asked by the then minister on Royal Caribbean Group through you. What is being done to ensure more arrivals from the Royal Caribbean Group, the bigger ships, more U.S. brands? What is the plan of the minister? While we speak of the port and the airport, very, very well, we need to also know that the success and capacity increase of the port or the airport is based on marketing. I would like to divulge a bit in the marketing strategy. What new marketing strategy or new marketing companies has the minister/ministry look into, are in discussion with? What is the plan of the minister to market St. Martin through you, Madam Chair? I would also like to ask the question on global ports. Is this still a discussion being had? Is this still a discussion? What would be the financial implications for St. Martin if Global Ports or any other company took over the port's operations? Would this result in loss or gain of revenue? Would it be positive or negative? What would happen to other companies under the St. Martin Harbor Group umbrella, such as Simpson Bay, the Slack, if the operations are outsourced? Can the minister explain, which I did, I just talked about the true port fee, I'm doubling myself now. What is the current status of the 10.4 acre land in Point Blanche, which I asked? Who currently owns the land, and how many times has ownership changed since the first given to EDC? Speaking of EDC, what is the status of such? I know that there is to be a tender or something for the new director. What is the status of this? When is this planned to take place? As EDC is a very important vessel to St. Martin and the Ministry of TEAT. Who will be responsible for developing the land, and what specific plans are in place for this development? What is the port's plan to ensure to maintain its competitive edge over the rest of our regional partners? St. Martin, of course, has laid the blueprint, and I must say I have faith in this current CEO. He has shown definitely the drive to clean things up. So if it's one person that I believe can get us in the right direction, he is sitting right there. I must say that. If I was of a different opinion, Madam Chair, I would have said that as well. Madam Chair, I'll leave it at this point right now, and any other questions I have, I'll bring it in the second round. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Otley. And the next MP to speak is MP Jacobs. MP Jacobs, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity. I needed some time, the tall guy was using my structure to set up myself here. But I would like to take this time again to say good afternoon to one and all joining this broadcast via whichever media, and to thank the Honorable Minister for the presentations made on behalf of the ports of St. Martin. I have a couple of questions, some to the government directly and others that I guess the minister would then have to get from the companies themselves. And I must take note that some of my questions may have been asked already, but I may have one or two little nuances, so I will still go through them and look forward to the responses. I will start with the Princess Juliana International Airport. I would like to know, Madam Chair, through you, what the government and specifically this minister's position is on the current corporate governance structure and the roles and responsibilities of the minister as regulator on one hand, and or representative of the Council of Ministers or within the Council of Ministers charging with the lead in matters relating to the port. So whether there's any specific changes, has a new decree been made available? What exactly is the position of the minister in this current corporate governance structure? And how does she review and see this role? The other question, as it relates to the management structure, relates to the status of the managing board. My colleague did ask some of these questions, but I know that some of the agreements were made based on the reconstruction and the need to ensure that the finances were properly managed regarding that, especially as it regards to CFO. With the pending opening of the airport in October, what changes are mandated or expected as it relates to the position of the CFO? Has the local counterpart been appointed in the meantime? We did get an update on the CEO, and I believe my colleague asked enough questions about that, but I'd also like to know what the status is of the COO of the management company, and as well as any update that can be given on the holding board and supervisory board in terms of their membership, tenureship, need for change, etc. I would also like to know, Madam Chair, through you, where we are in the process to live up to the agreements made to upgrade corporate governance structure within Princess Juliana International Airport boards, not just the managing board, but holding and the agreements that had been signed off with management. There are more specifics as it relates to agreements that should have been lived up to, that there was some reluctance, whether it was by the management or supervisory board. Is the minister up to date on this information? And not only what is the minister's opinion or standpoint on this, but where does the Council of Ministers stand as it relates to these structures that should have also gone, like say the corporate governance upgrades, should have also been incorporated at other government-owned companies. So what is the trajectory to ensure that the improvement in corporate governance is not only being looked at PGIAE, but at all other government-owned companies? So that part is specifically for the Council of Ministers. It is noted that in most government-owned companies around the world, and specifically airports, since we're talking about the airport, that they contribute significantly to the coffers of their relevant governments via departure taxes and other fees. That is, however, not the case for St. Martin, and many people who are from other places find that quite remarkable. But these are constructs that have been long-standing. So I would like the minister to update what is the current financial standings at the airport, and what is the minister's stance in terms of, and the government stance in terms of recouping further revenues from the airport directly to governments and the people of St. Martin, the coffers of the government, so that it can impact the people of St. Martin. I know that there are concession fees that are yearly paid, and in the past I have heard different responses to this question, but I would like to know currently, what is the plan? Is there any plan to assess and or adjust the current structure, especially seeing that there was a restructuring of the loans done for PGIAE in the past couple of years, which allowed PGIA to hold on to more of its funds, which I believe, if we are now breaking even, we're seeing increases, etc., are we back to pre-hurricane and pandemic levels? If we can now ensure that, as one of the hubs, I heard a large percentage of the GDP, I don't recall, 60% was mentioned. How can we ensure that this is felt by the people of St. Martin on the ground in government's coffers? There are many projects and programs that require funding, and I think it should be structurally found within these ports, which have been known to become quite abundant, and I would like it to be structured towards the people of St. Martin, because we cannot continue to brag of having two of the most modern ports within the region and still have a lack of proper social development within our communities. The last question for the airport, I did see one of the slides talk about travel, specifically mentioning Winair, the hub function, and so on. But I've been receiving a lot of questions about airlift to Curacao and Aruba. Of course, Bonaire as well. What is in the works to improve, especially the cost? Because I believe there was something being talked about, I know with one going out, Easy Air, I don't know, coming back in. Can the minister update as to where we are in improving the quantity as well as decreasing the cost of airlift within the region, and more specifically within the Dutch Caribbean? The questions related to the harbor, Madam Chair Lady, to the Honorable Minister and the Board, Managing Board. Similar question as with the airport. What is government's and this minister's position on the corporate governance structure that is currently in place, the roles and responsibilities of the minister, as well as that of CAM, as it relates to the harbor? Also, the Asekuda system was something that has been long talked about and was being worked on during the last tenure, during our tenure. What is the status of that system, which should see great collaboration between the Customs Department of the Justice Chain and the port to ensure that we have proper regulation of goods coming into our island. I do understand that some of our companies have made, you know, some interesting constructs so that there is still not a good idea of what the companies are paying to import goods on the island. It is, what's that word? Remarkable, again, I would want to say, that in a country where we don't have import duties, that the cost of goods on St. Martin can still be higher than places that do, which are coming from the same point of origin. So I think that this is something that we must ensure that we are looking into, because cost of living continues to be the cry of the people. And just the other day, the minister was in the House of Parliament talking about that where food is concerned, but I think it goes beyond food across the board, of course, food being the most important. Also, what is, how are we standing financially at the port? If it is part of the presentation, but not as extensive as maybe we would like, maybe we can be a little more expansive in the information provided there. Also, similar to the question about the airport, how does the minister and or this government regard getting more revenues from the port directly into government's coffers and to the people of St. Martin? I know we rely heavily sometimes on, oh, the port will pay this and oh, the port will pay that. I would prefer we not go to the port on an ad hoc basis or the airport, but have structural means of ensuring that we can take care of the people's business. It has been, I think I mentioned that part already. Does the minister have any idea besides the container fees, what is contributing to the high cost of items on St. Martin? And I would like to know what plans are in place to actively reduce the cost of imports so that the consumption by our residents, or the cost for consumption, can go down considerably. Container fees were introduced at a certain point in time in our history. Can the minister ascertain when this was and what percentage of this is committed to repay investments? So is this something that is linked to investments at the harbor, and for how much longer? Because I do recall being asked that question anytime we had a discussion on loans. For whatever reason, how long are we going to be held hostage by these things? And whether it's for the crane or for the containers, how long are the people of St. Martin going to be held hostage to these investments? Or are we then, once we finish paying off that, then we incur another loan to the same amount, so that we're continuously ensuring that container fees are impacted? If by chance container fees are not impacted by any investments, then clarify based on what they have been introduced or are still ongoing. What would the port consider its key generator of funds to be for the sustainable coverage of its overhead operations? I didn't hear much about cargo in this presentation. I know in the past, and especially during COVID, when there was no tourism, that cargo is what held it over, was able to keep the port with its head above water. And so I'd like to know, what are we doing in the area of cargo to ensure that it continues to thrive in this area? And how can we, where is it in terms of, you have cruise and you have cargo, what percentage is generating what amount, and how much is needed for the overall overhead costs of the harbor? So for the sustainable running of the port, what part of the budget is reserved for this? So I'm asking all those questions, Madam Chair, because I would like to know in the end whether it's possible to reduce the container fees to be able to impact the cost that is trickled down to the consumers. Similarly to the question I asked, what is government's vision to ensure that our thriving ports, I don't know if I said it already, maybe ad hoc, but I have it written, so let me make sure I have it down. what are we doing to ensure that ports are contributing to the government's coffers on a sustainable level, to ensure that our citizens can benefit via the needed sports, youth, culture, and arts programs, as well as other key social needs within the community. Is the program, Madam Chair, via the Royal Caribbean Group still available? There was a program that had been introduced that would allow St. Martin residents to be able to gain meaningful employment on the cruise ships. Is this program still ongoing, and is there any interest and or initiative still by the port and our government to ensure that this can still be something we do when we have our negotiations with the ports and with the different cruise lines that are willing to start coming to St. Martin? And have we also looked within the Ministry of ECYS and the high schools to see what we can do to make it more linkable, that they can actually get these jobs, as well as to expose them to all of the jobs that are within the cruise and maritime industries, which is known to be the fastest growing within our region. One concern I have, Madam Chair, that I didn't hear at all mentioned, with all the changes or the increases that are coming, we note that on certain days there are always a lot of boats, and other days it's minimum to none. What is our vision in terms of making it a little more evenly distributed, in terms of whether I could remember Mr. Gums presenting about whether we're at the beginning, in the middle, or the end of a tour, a cruise? That would make the difference, and that's why most people are looking to be landing around the same time. Is there anything that we as St. Martin can do so that we can really spread it out a little bit? I think the impact on our island when we have 6 to 8, I know the capacity is there, boats in, ships in can be quite heavy, and then on other days it is really not enough. So what is the intention in terms of us spreading it out and ensuring that the vendors, the shopkeepers, etc. And I didn't hear anything about the diversification that we needed of what is actually being sold here, because I know people are coming now more for experiences than to shop. So what are we doing now to make those experiences more viable and more exciting so that they're coming to St. Martin for something other than a water park and a, what's those things called? The mountain thing, zip lines, yes. Other than that, I really would like to see that we're doing a little more promotion of our culture and heritage, and look forward to hearing from the minister where we are with that. Thank you, Madam Chair. That will be all for now.
Thank you, MP Jacobs. I see MP Irion walking to the desk, so I believe he will indicate his desire to speak. I await him doing that. MP Irion, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you, Kafir, the honourable members of Parliament, the Minister and her support staff, and the executives and staff of the different ports. Thank you for your presentation, Honourable Minister. I must agree with my fellow colleague, MP Otley, that, again, I expect a little bit more from the presentation in terms of, let's say, the vision, the way forward, especially the position of this government, not just the data of the two entities, but especially the vision of yourself and the ministry going forward, seeing that you are also a new minister coming in, and also that as a member of Parliament, you also had your, let's say, opinions on the port and the harbour in particular. So I expect to see a little bit of that inside the presentation. It was stated that the CEO position for the port, for the airport is out. And what I would like to know, especially as I mentioned before, as an MP, you were adamant also about making sure that the position goes to a local. So in seeing that the position's out and BDO is handling it, what I would like to know is in their definition of, have they put a definition in there to specify local? You mentioned that there's at least 30 applications. I'm pretty sure a few of them, or maybe even a majority, are from abroad, seeing how they have gone in the past. So how are you ensuring, the government ensuring that it goes to a local? In addition to that, will the COO position go out anytime soon? Is it going to be a statutory position or not? And the CFO position, how much years are left on his contract? And then when will we start the process of looking for a CFO? Or are we still going through the process of training individuals? That was once a position of the board, training 2 individuals from the airport to be able to take up that position. Are we still continuing that line? In the presentation, I saw the Latin American market was at 2%, and I believe that data came from the airport. You could correct me if I'm wrong. And again, I have been a proponent then of lowering the budget of Latin America for the government and actually increasing the other 3. I believe that we have seen now for the last 10 years that let's not only invest, let's say, where we get minimal return on investment, but let's put the money in, let's say, the Caribbean market, where we see an increase in our return, and also the fact that Wenia is now going to more roads. What is the position of the minister on the Latin American market, the budget, and should we continue to invest in a market that we do not see the returns in comparison to the bigger markets? Because if you look at the Latin America budget, it's bigger than, in the past at least, I don't know for the current amendment, it's bigger than the Caribbean market. To you, Madam Chair, I would like to know the position of the minister and actually the government on the asset management agreement of the airport, and in particular the DOMA. So the asset management agreement, and in particular the DOMA. So in the past, there was the supervisory board and the management board were on odds in terms of where the assets go in the holdings. So I would like to know the position of the current government, through you, Madam Chair, on the assets management agreement and the DOMA. And regarding preclearance, this has been in discussion for a while, and even in Parliament for the last few years, we've seen that there is I think it's almost split 50-50 on preclearance or not. But what would the actual realistic timeline be for preclearance? If he said, as he stated, discussions should start or have started, what would the actual timeline look like? And for the last couple of years, the preclearance has been actually, I would say, the lead has been taken up by the prime ministers in the past. So is the current prime minister in favor of preclearance? And if you say that the discussions have started or will start, has he actually started these discussions? Because I believe it also has to go to on a kingdom level. So has those discussions started? What will be the cost of the preclearance for St. Martin in terms of because I understood that we actually have to pay for the salaries in comparison to Aruba. And the preclearance in Aruba, from the last data that we got, would not be the preclearance that we'll be getting in St. Martin. So can you compare or give a comparison of the preclearance in Aruba and what it would look like versus preclearance in St. Martin? And is it in any way possible that we get a similar deal as Aruba? In terms of Category 1, I heard my colleague MP Gums mention Category 1, and I agree with her. I believe that is an area that we should focus on, even more so than preclearance at the moment. And other than the department she mentioned, we also have to look at the civil aviation department. and actually the civil aviation in the Met Office building. That's a building that has to be constructed. I know there's funds available at the trust fund for this, but it was not enough. I've had discussions in the past with the CFO and the CEO of the airport where they were willing to come on board to supplement the funding needed with the funding from the trust fund to be able to get the building built so that we could start a process of getting to Category 1 and that we maybe possibly rent from them until we could get it in the capital expenditure funds, maybe to buy it back over. Continuing with the discussion on Category 1, another important part for us to get to Category 1 is actually the function book of the Civil Aviation Department. We will need a significant amount of changes in that department, an increase in staff and positions, and I would like to know, has that already started? Because I know in the past it was a discussion. Has that process already started? Because we would not be able to get to Category 1 without these new positions within the Civil Aviation Department. And if that process started, will we see that reflected in the Budget Amendment 2024 or Budget 2025 and going forward? And how many positions can we expect to be filled or at least budgeted in the next 4 years? Regarding, I think that is it for the airport. And I'll go over to the port. I'd like to first start off by commending the CEO on the constant communication on social media and the various means. I think for the last 4 years, we've seen a significant increase in communication and also getting updates. Even as when we were in government, we always got consistent updates. So I'd like to thank you for that. How is the government addressing the financial and reputational damage caused by the various lawsuits and legal challenges faced by the Port of St. Martin? What is the plan for SLAC? I know in the past it was discussed about them going independent, I believe, or being removed from the port. Is that the current vision of the minister, through Madam Chair, in this government to continue that path? Are we working on any policies to unify the lagoon fees to make them similar or at least closer to those on the northern side? According to the St. Martin Marine and Trade Association, that we've seen a sharp decline in cruisers to the front side. So what are the plans to address this? Through Madam Chair, I would like to have a clear answer on global ports. Are we going to partner with them? Are we seeking any kind of investments from global ports? Is that the desire of this government or not? I know in the past, members of the parliament that now currently support this coalition were in favor of global ports, and I would like to know if that is the current position of this government, and are they plan to seek any investments or have any sort of relationship with global ports going forward? And if not, then we could close that chapter and continue to just build on what we have locally and continue to develop that. Are there plans to have any partnerships with any cruise lines, Royal Caribbean? I know in the past, are there any plans to have any cruise lines continue to invest in our harbor and our ports, or even deepening the area? We see the icons, I see a new one coming out in, I believe, 1.5 years. Are we planning to have them invest so that we can be able to house these new ships to be able to berth at our port? MP Jacobs mentioned Asecura. I have been a proponent of Asecura for a while. The current CEO knows this. Also understood that the port were developing or had developed their own, well, they considered similar system. I don't consider it a similar system, I do believe that we need to get on an international level of standards. The majority of the ports in the world use Asikura, and I believe that if the minister, through Madam Chair, is serious about price controls and understanding the cost of products on the island and even creating policies, we will not be able to do that without having that data. So I would like to know the position of the minister on Asikura, and if it's something that she sees us being able to implement it in the next year, or if she does not favor Asikura, then what system or a comparative system that she sees would be beneficial so that we can have these policies implemented. Again, as I mentioned before, that I do not see us having any true policies created without actually knowing the cost of products coming into the country. And with that being said, what is the current staffing situation at the State Department? We have now the former head, who's now a minister. I've understood a few others also left, and this is a key department in policies and collecting data. So what is the current staffing situation at the State Department? Who will actually be one of the partners to work with the port regarding Asikura or any system that they need? And lastly, a few years ago, the members of the Royal Caribbean mentioned to me that the island lacks about 75% in tours. So there was an opportunity to actually create more jobs because they needed more tours. And he mentioned 75%. That data might be even outdated now. It might even be more. Can I get an update on that? And what is the plan of the government in terms of filling this gap? I believe that's a huge opportunity. And I would like to know what the plans are of ensuring that we fill that gap, because that leaves a lot of opportunity for local entrepreneurs. That'll be all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Irion. The next speaker on the list is MP Kotai. MP Kotai, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to all. Honorable Minister of TEAT and her staff, the members representing the harbor, my fellow colleagues, and those in the Tribune, including those tuning in via social media. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to firstly thank our Minister of TEAT for presenting and also for the presentation, and also commend her for striving to engage stakeholders closely and taking tangible steps in improving our offering as a destination. The marketplace is a great start, and it is to my knowledge that the revamping of Philipsburg as a whole has our minister's complete attention. While a lot has been asked for myself concerning the harbor, retail and tours form a bedrock of offering and remain a large channel of enticing the tourism revenue, thus supplementing our GDP. Considering that the traffic in Philipsburg has reduced considerably with tours starting from the harbor and ending at the harbor, can we look into passengers being picked up or dropped off into Philipsburg before or after their adventures as a mandatory stop? I see the harbor to town connecting walkway in the presentation, when the walkway will be available for use. Of course, passengers will be able to choose to use the walkway to walk back to the port or walk into town. This would then increase the footfalls in Philipsburg, again, bringing vibrant life back to the marketplace, restaurants, and of course, all over Philipsburg. Which is why I would like to see this come to fruition as soon as possible as well. So once again, just to go back to the question about the harbor, can we set Philipsburg as a mandatory stop for all tour guides? And then, of course, by improving our security and revamping the infrastructure, can we also then engage with the cruise lines to stay in our port longer into late evenings? This will give passengers more time to enjoy their adventure and retail needs. Concerning the airport, finally, we do see a percentage of 27.7% of passenger traffic in 2023 from our Caribbean region as presented in the presentation. Although another common statement I hear is that our inter-island visitors have decreased due to high fares. Please do correct me if I'm wrong. While islands around us are opening their doors wider and offering all visitors diverse options, I believe we have to engage with the relevant stakeholders, and perhaps can we look at packages to offer which can be marketed at a price point making it appealing for our inter-island visitors to keep coming and upping that 27.7% rate. That's all for now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Kotai. I continue and I offer the floor to MP Doran. MP Doran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Once again, good afternoon to you, my colleagues, Honorable Minister support staff, and the people of St. Martin. Madam Chair, I have a few brief questions. We are here today to discuss the critical matters related both to the airport and the port, as they are key pillars of our economy, our ports of entry. I'll start off with questions for the airport. Based on the presentation and also statements made regarding the recruitment, I would like some clarity on the following before I delve into the other questions regarding operations. The contract for the current CEO at the airport is up in December. A recruitment drive is currently taking place, which is in the beginning phase of happening. I know that a screening process needs to take place after the selection is done. I know that corporate governance report needs to be done. I know that the ministers then need to approve it and or disapprove it, and all these different steps need to be taken. I would like to know, has any, and currently we do not have a chief operations officer. Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to know, is there any plan B in the event of a temporary manager or some sort in order to make sure that there's continuity? Once this stops, is there a possibility to make sure that we don't have a situation where we just have the CFO, which was appointed by the Dutch government based on agreements made back then, just be there in terms of running it? I know that the airport is at a critical stage right now. Although there's light at the end of the tunnel, I just want to make sure that there's clarity with respect to that. And also, what is the status on the COO position, which has been vacant for quite some time? Through you, Madam Chair, I'll go into the passenger growth and capacity. The minister mentioned that 349,000 passengers during the summer of 23 and over 400,000 during the summer of 24, which is an increase of about 18%. While the growth is encouraging, I would like to know that, considering the current construction challenges that are taking place, are there any extra measures being taken place in terms of comfort for the passengers? Because I know with One Belt, it is proven to be quite a challenge, so I just would like to know, in the meantime, or on October 8th, will everything be ready and good to go? I would like some clarity on that point, because that wasn't so clear. Pre-clearance was touched on a bit by my colleagues, so I'll leave that there. In terms of sustainability initiatives at the airport, Madam Chair, the presentation mentioned that several projects that align with sustainability. Could the minister elaborate on how these initiatives fit into the overall sustainability of the goals for the airport? Are there additional green projects or efforts on the way to ensure that the airport minimizes its environmental impact during and after the reconstruction? With regards to the financial update, we've heard about various projects such as the FBO building, the fuel farm, and the catering building. Could the minister, through you, Madam Chair, share how these projects are being financed and if there are any concerns about budget overruns or delays? These are critical infrastructures, and we would like to understand the financial outlook so that the airport can make sure that they're in a safe and sound financial situation once we are finished with our recovery fully as a country. I'll move on now to the port, the harbor. Regarding the causeway, we know that the causeway plays a vital role in terms of our infrastructure, and you know there's always been a long-standing concern in terms of how it was financed. So for the sake of transparency, Madam Chair, could the minister explain how the financing of the causeway was arranged? Additionally, there have been increase in the through-port fees. Have these increases affected the consumers? And do we anticipate further impacts on the cost of goods and services? And if so, what measures are being taken to make sure that we mitigate the cost of living? So for clarity's sake, does the through-port fees affect the cost of living, and how? In regards to cargo operation, Madam Chair, a few years ago there was a significant investment in new cranes to enhance the cargo operations at the port. Could the minister provide an update on how this investment has benefited the port thus far? Furthermore, are there any plans to expand the container storage area? If so, what data supports the need for the expansion? Are there any studies or assessments planned to determine if this expansion is necessary for further growth? And also projection in terms of revenue generating. In regards to the cruise port docking capacity, with the larger cruise ships now visiting and even larger ones being built around the world, does the ministry have any plans to increase the number of ships that can dock at the port while increasing the capacity that may bring more visitors? Also, are there studies being done by the port in collaboration with Justice how this would affect traffic and other different things in terms of smooth transition and smooth experience once our visitors are here? I move on to the port expects 1.35 million cruise passengers in 2024 totaling, and in 2025, 1.5 million. With this growth, does the ministry have any plans to expand or improve the port facilities to handle the increased numbers of visitors, also with the different experiences? Additionally, are there any planned assessments on how the influx of passengers will impact the infrastructure, as I just mentioned, in terms of the transportation and the services? I heard my colleague mention about mandatory stops. I would really like to know of these plans being considered, because I believe that we need to structure the manner in which our visitors experience our island. We've had cases where visitors are stuck in traffic for hours, and I don't think that that is so pleasant. So I would like some clarity on that. Through you, Madam Chair. In terms of rebranding and enhancing the tourist experience, the port's rebranding efforts, along with the beautification project, the food court, and the cultural experience, are very commendable. Can the minister provide more insight into how these efforts are expected to improve the overall experience of our passengers? Are there any specific goals to enhance visitor satisfaction, to attract new types of tourists through these initiatives? My next question, Madam Chair, through you. In terms of long-term plans for port-wide electrification through solar power and implementation of the shore power, were also highlighted. Could the minister provide a timeline for these sustainable projects? What are the key challenges in achieving these goals? And how does the ministry and the port plan to address them in the short term, especially concerning the emissions for dock ships? Regarding port security, the presentation mentioned that new security command center at the port. Could the minister explain, through you, Madam Chair, how this facility will improve the security measures, both for the cruise and cargo operations? Are there any plans to collaborate with international partners to ensure that the security systems meet international standards? With regards to the development projects at the port, I'd like to touch base on a project from the port from a few years ago, a shopping environment center that unfortunately never moved forward. Could the minister share whether there are any new plans to revive a similar project, and how does the ministry view these types of developments, and what is being done to ensure smoother management developments of these kind of projects at the port? Lastly, Madam Chair, in regards to container chassis fees, I've heard mention in the past of some sort of container chassis fees. Through you, can you explain, Minister, what are container chassis fees? When was it introduced, by whom, and why? And what are the benefits of these container chassis fees? Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity thus far. I look forward to the questions, and I will save the rest points for the second round. Thank you again.
Thank you, MP Doran. The next speaker is MP Brug. MP Brug, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, St. Martin. Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady, fellow colleagues. Good afternoon, Minister. Thank you very much for your presentation, and also good afternoon to the people of St. Martin. I'm not going to ask too much questions because most of the questions that I had was already asked by my colleagues. So what I've done, I've tried to filter, so please bear with me because I've filtered some of them so that I'm not repetitive. So I broke it down to at least 3 questions. Through you, Madam Chair Lady, I'd like to ask the Minister pertaining to the airport. There is a APIS legislation that has been pending for years. This is a legislation that allows us to collect personal data from our visitors. I would like to know what is the status of this law. In addition to that, I know that the Minister asked that we can break down the question based on the port and also based on the airport, but the following 2 questions, actually it's related to both. With regard to the airport and also the port, have they been living up to their obligation to government? If yes, great. If no, where have they fallen short and why? Also just mentioned by the previous speaker before me, statistics has shown, Madam Chair Lady, that one of the main issues that most of our visitors have is the traffic situation in St. Martin. It's not only our visitors that are having issues with this, it's also us as citizens of this country. One of the things that I've always talked about is regulating our public transportation. I would like to know through you, Madam Chair Lady, is the Minister considering having a regulated public transportation system? This can help with alleviating the traffic congestion, but also helps with alleviating poverty. So this is very important for me, if I can get the answer to this. And one other question also as well is the port mentioned a lot of developments that's going to happen, that's going to take place within the near future. But one thing that I miss, and perhaps it's something that has to be enjoined with the Ministry of Justice, is scanners for our containers. Is that something that the port can consider venturing into? Because as I mentioned in one of our previous meetings, a scanner is really missed at our ports, and because of a lack of scanner and the way that our customs are working, a lot of weapons, drugs, and what's not is coming into the island. And if that continues, later on, it's already affecting our tourism industry. So it is important for both sectors, the Ministry of Tourism, but also Justice, to find a solution in order to ensure that scanners are bought and stationed at our ports. Madam Chair Lady, I'm gonna leave it at this for now, and I'll await the answers. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, MP Brugge, for your contribution to the discussion. And those are the speakers on this topic here today. I will now adjourn briefly as I caucus with the Minister on the continuation of the meeting. Meeting adjourned for 5 minutes. Members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen, Minister of TIAT and your support staff, good afternoon and welcome back to this meeting after a brief adjournment to decide on the way forward, having heard and seen the presentation by the Minister, which in the meantime has been shared with members of Parliament, having heard the questions and comments from members of Parliament. I have caucused with the Minister regarding her return to answer the questions posed. The Minister has asked for a week's time, and given our schedule for next week, my proposal is that we do this on Thursday morning. I know it's the closing actually, but we will have to we'll have to accommodate the minister's request, given that she would be able to return and respond to Parliament within a week. And therefore, Minister, my proposal on your request for a week is next week, Thursday, God's willing. The Minister has given a thumbs up for that date to return to Parliament with the answers to the questions, and this would then bring us to the adjournment until the continuation of the meeting. Members of Parliament, ministers, support staff of both entities, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and or attending to this meeting, and I hereby adjourn this public meeting of Parliament until next week. Convocation is to follow. Meeting adjourned.